Hello, what we're going to be doing is looking at a few graphs today and determine what is the slope. So if you take a look right here, look at the graph. They are giving us a graph and they're asking us what is the slope. In order to find the slope, we need to follow a couple of steps. Number one, we need to pick and label. Pick and label. Pick and label. Alright, so pick and label, what we're going to do is try to find a couple of points where they intersect a grid line. So notice that right here, right above the 70, it intersects both the vertical and horizontal grid line exactly right there at that point. Now if you take a look slightly up further, that this point here only intersects the horizontal line. Notice there's no vertical line, so you can't use that. You can't use that point. And you can use that one. Again, it crosses both horizontal and vertical. So what we're going to do is we're going to mark out these points. We can use, back at the 70, we can use here at 80 and 30. We can use 90 and 60. And we could also use 190. Alright, so there we go, we picked and label. Number two, we're going to find the change in y. Change in y. Okay, and the word change is the exact same thing as the triangle. So triangle y means change in y equals. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and count from point to point. So when I do this part here, you only pick 2 points. And pick the 2 points closest to each other. So I'm going to pick, I don't know. I'll just do them in the middle. I'm going to pick from here. So from 80 to 30 to 90 and 60. So I'm going to go from red to red. Okay, and I always start at the lower one and work my way up. Alright, so here we go. If you take a look at the vertical run, it goes up by tens. And horizontal is also by tens. So I'm going to start at this point right here and work my way up to reach the other point. So I'm going to count up 10, 20, and 30. So notice that the change in y, you have to go up 30. So change in y is 30. Alright, number 3. Now we need to find the change in x. Change in x. Okay, and we're going to call that delta x. Again, means change in x. Okay, so now after going up 10, 20, 30, that was the change in y. We need to go from my laser pointer here over to the next point. So notice that one box over to the right is equal to 10. Because look right here, if we go down to 80, one box over, 80 plus 10 will give us 90. So over 10. Alright, and number 4 is to go ahead and finally determine the slope. So the slope equals change in y over change in x. Okay, and this is also the same thing as rise over run. Okay, so the y was how many we went up, the x is how many we run. And just fill it in. Here we go. Change in y comes from 30, and the change of x is the 10. So we got 30 over 10. Now my last step is, I'm pretty sure I can simplify 30 over 10. Because I can divide top and bottom by 10. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just get rid of the 0. So we can just call it 3 over 1. And actually that simplifies to just 3. So the answer to this question right here, what is the slope? The slope is 3. So in the classwork today, you just go ahead and put a 3. Alright, next point. So now we have a graph that's a little bit more level. It's not as steep. Alright, so step one, pick and label. Pick and label. Alright, so I have an option to pick 10 and 40. Again, we're going to look for points that cross both horizontal and vertical grid lines. Okay, let's see. Next one, can't do that one. Can't do that one. That one does cross vertical and horizontal, so that could be a point. Let's see. Can't do that one. No. Yes. You should actually see a pattern. So this one here is actually 4 of them. Again, it doesn't matter which 2 you do. So you know what I'm going to do? Is I'm going to go ahead and do the first one and the second one. That's it. First one and second one. Number 2. Let's go ahead and find delta y, change in y. So we need to ask ourselves, to go from the lower point here, how many do I need to go up to reach this point here? And notice that if I look at the vertical axis here, every box goes up by 10 again. So we're going to go by 10. So here we go. Up 1, which is 10. So, and now I'm already level here. So up 10 is the change in y. Number 3, delta x, is how many we're going to go to the right. So after going up 10, we need to go to the right 10, 20, and a total of 30. So delta x is going to be 30 here. Number 4 is going to be the actual slope. And the slope is equal to rise, which is delta y, over run delta x, equals. Okay, we have 10 over 30. So that comes from delta y, which is the 10 here, and delta x is the 30 here. So 10 over 30 can be simplified because we can draw the zeros at the end. So we can call it 1 over 3. Now the reason why I showed you this problem is when the denominator is larger, you can't drop the 1. The 1's a placeholder. So like the last problem, notice the 1 was at the bottom, I dropped it. But in this case, 1 over 3 is the real answer. Do not get rid of the 1 because that's the numerator. Alright, so the slope is 1 over 3. Okay, and when you type this in your classwork for today, you must use the forward slash on your keyboard. So here we go, 1 over 3. Okay, so it's a little dash line. Alright, and last one for today, which is a negative. Okay, so negative here, we need to go ahead and find our points. So which reminds me, that's going to be number 1, pick and label. Pick and label. Alright, beautiful. Pick and label. Alright, pick and label. We can do 3, 0. We can do 2, 3. We can do 1, 6. Or we can do 0, 9. Alright, number 2. We need to go ahead and locate the change in y, which is going to be delta y, which equals, okay, here we go. Pick 2 points. I'm just going to pick the bottom 2. It doesn't matter. Again, you pick any 2 points you want. And I picked the 2 close to each other. So here we go. 1, 2, 3. So I go up 3. And notice that if I look at the vertical axis here, they go up by 1. So 1, 2, 3. So it's literally up 3. Change in y is 3. Step 3 is going to be change in x equals, change in x equals, we don't know. I'm going to find that. Okay, change in x is going to be 1, 2, 3 over to the left 1. Now, because I have to go left, it has to be negative. Alright, so 1 to the left has to be negative. So change in x is equal to negative 1. Alright? And number 4, our slope is going to be change in y over change in x equals positive 3 over negative 1. Alright, a couple rules here. When we have one negative and a positive, we're just going to go ahead and bring the negative in the middle of the fraction. So equals negative there. So negative, so equals. And notice that we have a 3 divide 1. 3 divide 1. If the 1's on the bottom, you can drop it. So actually here, this just turns into a whole number of 3. So let's do this. Let's get rid of that line there. Alright, it's not going to work, so it's all good. So we got negative 3 over 1, but negative 3 over 1, we could just call it negative 3 there. And therefore, what is the slope? Negative 3. And in my keyboard, I look for the negative sign, negative 3, and submit. Thank you, and this concludes the tutorial for finding the slope of a graph.